Hey, everybody, Mark Johnson here, founder and creative director of Able Abe Studios, back with another video. In today's video, I will be interviewing myself, or in a sense, taking the questions that I used for previous artist interviews and pertaining to myself, or in a sense, I will be answering the questions. I'll try to do this in two parts. I'll answer the first 5 questions in the first part, and then the final 5 questions in the second part. So it'll be a 2-part video, and it'll be just kind of me sharing my answers that I've shared with previous artists when I've asked them or had interviewed them for my previous videos that I've done for artists. So let's get into it. So the simple answer to that question for myself is, I think inspiration can come from anywhere. It's one of those things that is not predetermined. I know when I'm doing, like, in a sense, research for a project or research for something that I would like to create, just kind of get some background on how previous people have done it, that kind of thing. Maybe I'll go to I think maybe I'll start at Google, do a little research there. If I have a particular artist that I'm trying to emulate or whatever, I'll probably research what they do and then just kind of get some ideas through that. But like for inspiration, it's just kind of one of those things where it can come from anywhere. I know a lot of people have talked about how nature is a great inspiration, getting out. I live in Chico, California, and we have a beautiful park, and just getting out into the park is one of those things that helps you kind of, just kind of lose yourself a little bit and get inspired by nature, by just kind of, the world itself. I think another way that I kind of get inspired is, through music, but I think also through films. If I'm going back and I'm researching somebody, I might look at their sketchbooks and see if any of the things in their sketchbook might inspire me. I even got inspired through reading. Sometimes I find a passage in a book that just kind of strikes me, and so I'll underline it, and then sometimes I'll come back to it and I'll reread it, and it kind of gives me a little spark to go in a certain direction. And again, if I'm researching, I'm going to Google, maybe in Pinterest. I've got a good Pinterest pile of clips that I've been collecting for a while, so sometimes I'll go in there and I'll save an image, and I don't remember why I originally saved it, but when I find it again, just something in the image kind of really sparks me a certain way, and I get inspired and go that way. So I think those are a lot of the main ways I get inspired, but I believe inspiration can kind of really come from anywhere at any moment, and you just got to be prepared for it. I think for me, the moment that really kind of like triggered something in me that could tell me that I could use my creative talents, my artistic talents, to build a living, maybe came in 2 different times. I think one time it was in high school. A college recruiter came to the class, or the professor or the teacher invited this recruiter, and he was talking about graphic design, and that was the first time I've ever heard about graphic design and what it entailed and that kind of thing, and just kind of really already have a background in the arts and stuff like that, and having the ability to kind of see something and draw it. What he was talking about that a graphic designer does kind of felt right up my alley, and it kind of made me feel like, okay, at this point there's already stuff out there for me that I can do, that I can just kind of fall into. And so that was kind of lightly that time. I think the other time was maybe just a little younger, so before high school, maybe junior high. I think at that time, the real fashion trend that was happening was people drawing on their jean jackets or their jeans. And so or even t-shirts, and people were asking me to draw on those jeans for them, or their shirt, or whatever. And so, it was a little bit of money here and there, but if I was going to really make that work at that time, I really needed an airbrush, and I didn't get the airbrush. I saved up to it, and I just never got it. For whatever reason, I just never got it. Maybe the trend kind of changed, and so there wasn't so many opportunities to do that. But I think those were the two times that I saw myself using my creative talents to generate income, just kind of in a roundabout way. Not that I was actually savvy enough to kind of take advantage of it, but it was just more or less, I could see that this could be a direction that I can go in my life to make some money. So I think that would be the two times in my life early on before I got to this point that I felt that those are the ways that I should go, or this is the way I should go in my life. So my go-to medium at this current moment is, I would say, watercolor. It's a combination. So it comes with an idea for a drawing. So I pencil it out. From there, I'll do a watercolor wash, and then ink it out. And then at the point now where I'm at, I'm using markers to kind of build some more separation and some more three-dimensionality to the image. Originally, when I started this process, I'd seen someone else on Instagram post like a process video, and I was like, maybe it was even YouTube, but whatever the case, I watched their video and I saw how they were doing it. They started out with pen and then did a watercolor wash over it, and then ink, and then like markers, gel pens to kind of pop out the highlights. And so I just kind of emulated that and started doing like little small drawings. I'll cut up a 11 by 14 paper and then do little drawings like that just to kind of get my process up. Because at that point I wasn't really comfortable in using watercolor. I always thought it would just kind of just wash everywhere. But you can actually be pretty controlled with it if you know what you're doing and you understand how the water's going to work with the paints. And so I built up from there. So I did sketches, and then do the watercolor, and then just ink over top. That's kind of how I was doing for a while. And so now I'm doing a little bigger images, 11 by 14 size, and now I'm using markers to kind of separate the foreground from the background a little bit more and give it, like I said, a little more three-dimensional effect. And I'm still using the gel pens to bring out the highlights, but that's what I would say my go-to mediums right now. I enjoy working with it, and then now that I'm working with the markers, it's kind of gotten to a point where I'm learning a little bit more how the markers work, being able to blend the colors and kind of, do a little more of the shading within the colors to make it pop that much more. So that's what I would say. And usually when I'm working, maybe I'm listening to some music, put on a simple track, run it for an hour or something like that, and just take a break after that and go again. Maybe sometimes I'll listen to a little podcast, or like what they have on YouTube. They have these motivational videos that they just kind of run little clips from different people's speeches over music. Maybe listen to some, they're not called podcasters, but they're on YouTube, and they kind of have their own little agenda that they talk about, and it's kind of interesting what their videos, they come and go. But that's kind of how I set my tone, or set my zone for my drawing sessions. Get my work, get my utensils together, set up some music, or like I said, like a little podcast situation, and then go for about an hour, and then take a break, and then either go to another project or continue on the same project. There's probably two artists that have affected my current mode of work. I would say the first person is an interesting character in the sense that he does kind of like a comic book style. He's kind of famous, maybe cultish kind of background, or character, cult following, and that's Robert Crumb. I think I originally got linked onto him by seeing his pen work. His pen work is impeccable. It's just kind of crazy. I mean, it's all pen work. I don't think I've ever seen him really any color work from him. I don't recall seeing any color work, but it's really all pen. So shadows are like pointillism, dotted. Just really fine cross hatching for shading. it's just really great work. I really liked his work. And then as I got to kind of get familiar with who he was as a character, I realized that he had this real different kind of personality than most people. Real, I wouldn't say secluded, but he's definitely, I wouldn't say dark either, but it's just kind of, I wouldn't even say sexual, but it's kind of really a combination of all those things. If you look at his work, he was famous for a comic called Fritz the Cat. Kind of has like some real sexual undertones to it, and then even a lot of his diary work that he did were introspective looks at himself and how he related to women, and how he in a sense lusted after women, that kind of thing. And not that that's the reason why I like him, but the reason why I was drawn to him, like I said, was his pen work. I would say the next person or artist that inspired me was Norman Rockwell. He does like the Americana type paintings, and yeah, I know I can say for myself, initially gravitated in his work was the idea that he can tell a story through his images that doesn't necessarily need words. You know what I'm saying? So it's more or less just the action or the facial expression or the way people are turned or the way they're looking that kind of guides you to tell you what the type of story. They depicted a lot of times holiday situations. So his paintings were a lot of times used for calendars, and what was the magazine I was saying? New York Times or something like that. So newspapers and things like that. And so obviously it kind of wanted to be something that wasn't too controversial. But I think again the reason why I gravitated to his work was the idea that he was telling the story through his artwork, the images in his artwork. And so as I started out in this process of working with watercolor, I kind of took that as a direction for myself to start off from. So a lot of my early watercolor images were me trying to interpret a story or share a story without using the words. So in a sense, by the way the characters were looking, what the characters were doing in the drawings, my attempt was to draw or to direct the viewer into a story that in a sense they had to put together. That I didn't say it was one way or the other, but it was just kind of my attempt to kind of do that, because I've always liked storytelling. I do write scripts. I have written a couple of screenplays, and I like movies, so I mean those are kind of the elements that helped me get to that point. And so yeah, I would say those are the two artists that, if right off the top of my head, if I had to guess, or not necessarily guess, but explain my art style or what's my inspiration or the artists that inspire me, I would say both of them. As their careers are, I didn't follow them in that direction. In that sense, it wasn't necessarily about what they did with their career that was most inspiring to me. It was more or less the work that they did. Yeah. Thank you for watching. That has been my artist interview. In a sense, like I said, I was just answering some of the questions that I had asked other artists. So now it was time for me to answer some of those questions. Again, hopefully this was an entertaining video. If you liked it, definitely give it a thumbs up. If you like what I'm doing on the channel because you watch other videos that I have on the channel, make sure to subscribe then. If you have a comment or anything you'd like to share based off of this video, make sure to leave that in the comment box below. Maybe you have a question that you would like to ask specifically, leave that down there as well. And then lastly, as I've been trying to do, post once a week. Hopefully this will get out this week and I'll be able to continue that process. But as we go through the end of February, I'm pretty much on schedule to kind of do that, and continue throughout the rest of the year trying to post at least once a week. So if you like what I'm posting and you like the content I'm sharing, make sure to ring that bell so you don't miss any of my upcoming content. Outside of that, if you're an artist yourself and you would like, just kind of casually on the casual like to be interviewed, hit me up, send me an email. I'll leave that in the description box below, so you can contact me on any of the social media apps that I have on there, to say that you'd like to be interviewed. You're in my area, hit me up. I'd like to start interviewing a lot more people, kind of seeing, again, trying to draw the connection between different type of artists, musicians, painters, sculptors, trying to see what the running through line is through all artists, all creative people. That's kind of what the intent was when I originally started this process of trying to interview artists, was to kind of find out what the running throughness is of people in, not necessarily people, but artists, creative times, right? Creative times. I'd like to continue doing this, and if that happens to be you, like I said, hit me up on one of these, Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is that you have that we share. Hit me up, say that you're an artist in my area, my local area. Maybe you are maybe not, or maybe not too far outside of my local area, and we can see what we can do. I know in the pandemic we may even be able to do it over line. That might be another way to do it. So hit me up. And so that's the end of the video, or the end of the interview. Hope you enjoyed it. And like we always do this time, have a blessed day. See you on the flip side. Let's go.